Great choice. All right. So listen to your heart. And our journey today, the monthly theme for this month is the journey of becoming. And we are talking today about the joy of becoming. So the journey of this year is coming to an end, but we know that it's simply the beginning of another cycle, right? It's the ending becomes a new beginning. But at solstice, there's a stillness. There's a pause between the ending and between the beginning. And this is a pause that allows us to sit and be with ourselves right where we are and listen to the still small voice that speaks to us. We give ourselves over to the mystery at the time of solstice. And we open to its revelations. Now, here at the Centers for Spiritual Living, we have a global vision. And we envision humanity awakening to its spiritual magnificence and discovering the creative power of thought. A world where each and every person discovers their own personal power and ability to create an individual life that works within a world that works for everyone, and I would say everything. So one thing we cannot become, folks, is spiritual. Because we are spirit. We are spiritual beings living in a spiritual universe. So everything is spiritual. So our journey is about connecting and realizing and becoming aware of that spiritual nature that we have. Now you say, well, why didn't we just come in knowing our spiritual nature? Why didn't that didn't just happen? But as our founder and the mystic and philosopher Ernest Holmes says, the universal intelligence gave us self-choice and free will. So we're left to discover the reality for ourselves. And I think we all know that if we do something ourselves, then we know it can be done, we trust it, all of those kinds of things. So Spirit left us to discover our spiritual nature, because then we could really activate it in a way that brings forth what it truly is for us. So the first thing we have to do is to become aware of our spiritual nature. That is part of our becoming. And once we do, that is a joyful experience. Now, we've all heard the story of Moses and the burning bush, right? Or at least those of us who were raised in a Judeo-Christian world usually have heard this story about this burning bush. And Moses asks the burning bush, "Who are you? Who shall I say sent me?" And the bush answers, the voice from the burning bush answers, "I am that I am." Now, that's one translation, but there is another translation that says, "I am becoming." I am becoming. So that is the formless taking form. The formless is, it does not change, but it generates all of the different forms that we see in the manifest universe. So it generates everything out of the one. Now the Bible also says that we're made in the image and likeness of this universal intelligence. And in Science of Mind, those of us in the room can see there's a symbol on the wall, but I'm going to hold up this symbol for the folks at home. This is the Science of Mind teaching symbol. And what it says is, this is a representation, and of course, all representations are flawed, but some of them are helpful. And so this one is about the power of our thought. So the upper part of this is our thought. The middle part is law. The bottom part is form. So when spirit thinks of form, it goes right down into the form. Now, we think, but we also doubt, fear, have anxiety, have all of these things. So that doesn't exactly activate this process. But if we have a thought to which we are committed, to which we have emotion and passion, then it goes from the thought through the law. And what the law does is it responds to that emotion associated with that thought. And it returns to us the vibration of things. It sets forth a vibration that attracts to us those things that we have thought with emotion. So that's why, when we think love, peace, joy, harmony, we are generating a generative energy that is drawing a vibration that brings to us those experiences. But the opposite is true. If we're thinking fear, the book of Job says, that which I feared most has come upon me. So fear is also very generative. It will send that energy out and it will bring you what you fear. So we want to be aware of our thoughts. We want to be aware of whether our thoughts are constructive or destructive. So that is another of our becomings, is figuring out what thoughts are constructive. And the way we do that is we see what shows up. What shows up in form from that thought. And then we get a chance to evolve. We get a chance to think a new thought. We get a chance to start over with a new thought and a new way of being and a new energetic vibration. So we've all been many, many things in this life. I mean, myself, well, for instance, in a trade, my father was a lithographer. So you go from being an apprentice, then you go to becoming a journeyman, and then you go to becoming a master. So there's an evolutionary trend there. First you're learning about the thing, then you're able to do the thing, and then when you're a master, I believe, you can actually figure out how to do the thing better. You can not only do it, but you can say, oh, it would be easier if we could do it this way. And the same thing happens, I was in a hospital this week with my sister, and it's sort of like, you got your interns, you got your residents, and then you got your doctors. So they go through this evolution. They go through this becoming. They become each of those things. They become the intern. They become the resident. They become the doctor. And at each phase, there is a joy. Woo-wee, I made it from being an intern to being resident. And I made it from being a resident to starting my own practice. So it's a becoming, and we get to celebrate each phase of that becoming. We get to experience the joy of the process as we go along. Michelle Obama wrote a book called Becoming. And one of the quotes from it is, "For me, becoming isn't about arriving somewhere or achieving a certain aim. I see it instead as forward motion, a means of evolving, a way to reach continuously toward a better self. The journey doesn't end." And I heard something on the radio this morning, of course, on NPR. You all know that that's, my main station. And they were talking about the new version of West Side Story. And apparently Stephen Sondheim was there with them when they were singing the words to the songs that he wrote when he was 24. And now, he just passed away. And being an older guy, and I don't remember, I think he was perhaps in his 90s, I'm not sure, but he wrote that thing 60 years ago. So he was up there, and he was there tweaking the words because he thought they could be better. So, he didn't say, oh, leave them like they are, they're perfect. He said they could be better. So he made them better. And that was a blessing to the people who were singing those songs. Now, there's also times in this process when we hit a plateau. I don't know if you've ever read the book Mastery by George Leonard. He's a keto master, and he talks about the fact that people would come in and they'd start out and they'd get real excited about doing a keto, and they'd buy all the outfits and all the accoutrements and everything, and then boom, they'd hit a plateau. They got good, but they weren't getting better. The key is to stay in the plateau, to keep the practice in the midst of the plateau. Because it is a necessary part of the process. It gives us time to assimilate and to integrate our experiences. In spiritual realms, they sometimes call this the dark night of the soul, where we've gone along, we think, I'm such a spiritual, I'm really exercising my spiritual stuff. And then something terrible happens and we think, oh, heck, this is not what I thought it was going to be. And keeping faith in that realm when that happens is critical. In 2008, every year I claim a word of intention. And in 2008, I claimed the word faith. And in that year, one of my beloved cousins died. My partner of 35 years died. 2 other friends died. And I'm thinking, holy moly, keeping the faith. How do I do that? How do I do that in the midst of this? But I did my practice every day. And out of that experience came the opportunity to be the senior minister here at the Sierra Center, and brought me more experiences, more joy, more fulfillment than I could ever have dreamed. So it was one of those plateaus, it was one of those places where keeping the faith was critical. But when we do, the joy of becoming absolutely gets expressed. I know that we all are in this act of becoming. And one of the things that always reminds me of the fact that because we're in nature, of nature, like the universe is continually expanding. So we are called to continually expand in some way. Maybe we become, more loving, more kind, more creative. We become something more. And the thing that really reminds me of this, and I hope you can see this is a chambered nautilus. So a chambered nautilus starts out as a little being right in the center of this thing. And then it grows. So it grows into the next largest thing. It grows into the next largest chamber. you get to the next chamber and you're like, whew, okay, that feels better. And then guess what? It gets too tight. And you have to go. You have to expand into the next chamber. And then you celebrate that. You have the joy of becoming into the larger chamber. And then it says, whoops, I got to keep going. And it keeps going and going and going, expanding and expanding and expanding until it leaves its shell entirely. It's sort of like us. We expand and we expand and we expand. We grow, we change, we discover, we become aware of our spiritual nature in a different way, in a greater way, in a more loving way, in a more peaceful way, in a more powerful way. And so we continue to do that. We've all been through many, many stages. I mean, I've been a daughter, a sister, a cousin. I've been a worker. I've been a manager. I've been a computer programmer. I've been a practitioner. I've been a minister. So I've been all of these things. And each one is an expansion, an educational experience. And I'll tell you what, one of the best ways to learn is to fail. Oh, I tell you, my first computer program that got put into production brought down Northern California. And, you know, I had to run down to the computer person who was this very imposing woman who, like, controlled everything. And I said, we have to back this change out. I found out it doesn't let them do this. And so she made me pay. But she did it. So, you know, it's like that's a really good learning about, testing. You got to test everything. So, you know, failing is, you know, I get up here and I forget to turn the dumb microphone on, right? So that's me. That's failing, and we have to learn. The thing is, we have to learn from the failure. If we don't learn from the failure, we are doomed to repeat it. So let's learn. Last week, Reverend Madeline talked all about surrender. And surrender is definitely a part of the process of becoming, because when we're becoming something new, we have to let go of the old. It's sort of like, you know, the snake has to shed its skin in order to reveal the new. So we have to let go of stuff. We have to let go of, sometimes we have to let go of people. Sometimes we have to let go of practices that we thought we would always do. Sometimes we have to see that something new needs to show up, and in order for it to show up, we have to let go of whatever has been there. We have all been through a challenging time in this pandemic, wearing masks, sheltering in place, social distancing, getting vaccine shots and boosters. And so as the solstice approaches, which is going to be on the 21st, let us take time to just be. We're part of nature, and plants and animals pause in this time, in this dark time. So we should too. I know it, you know, we're all supposed to be out shopping and being festive but let's take a day. Let's take a day to just be. We can reflect on the past year and integrate the experiences we've had. And we can not worry about tomorrow. Just be in that moment, in this moment. Just be grateful to be alive. Grateful for all of the becomings we have experienced. And the joy and sometimes the sorrow that they have brought us, but being appreciative, being grateful. Just as the poem that Madeline read said, you know, if you're not grateful, you're not paying attention. So being grateful just to be alive. So let us open to the light, the love, the peace, the harmony within, and know that as we become aware of that, we become more of it, and we radiate those qualities out into the world. We radiate that love. We radiate that joy. We radiate that peace. We radiate that harmony. Robert Louis Stevenson said, to be what we are and to become what we are capable of becoming is the only end of life. And what we are capable of becoming is that complete experience of our spiritual nature. And expanding the realization of those loving, giving, harmonious thoughts into the world. I would like, if you would go along with me for a moment, to just invite you to repeat after me. I am love. I am peace. I am harmony. I am wholeness. I am spirit expressing. Let's take this into prayer. All of these qualities that we have named, and so many more, are present in the infinite potential of the energy of life itself that is everywhere. That infinite potential for love, for peace, for harmony, for wholeness, for joy, for creativity, for abundance, for all the compassion, all the beauty, all the truth, all the justice, all the goodness we could ever imagine, and more is present in the infinite one that is here now, in, through, and as each one of us. And so I accept and know that in this moment we open to that joy of becoming more of that spiritual nature, more of that loving essence, more of the good that wants to be known and experienced. We remember the words of Mother Teresa, we belong to each other. We are all connected. We are all in that divine mind, and we are all evolving together into that greater expression of spirit, of life, harmony and wholeness. And so I am grateful for this moment, for this time together, for this realization in a greater way of who and what we are, and the infinite possibility that remains open before us. And so with great, great gratitude for this good that I know is unfolding in this moment, I release my word into the law of life itself, knowing that the law responds by corresponding to this energy and is even now bringing it into greater expression. And we affirm this together as we say, and so it is.